Welcome, everybody. I'm Anthony Singlis from Champlain College, St. Lambert, and it is my pleasure to introduce Kirsten Greb. She will be our presenter today. She is a consultant in inclusive education at the Lester B. Pearson School Board. She is a member of the Center of Excellence for Mental Health and School Climate team. She holds a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in educational counseling psychology from McGill University. Prior to her work as an educational consultant, Kirsten was a resource teacher for 10 years at several schools where she promoted a distinct focus on positive school climate and social emotional learning. She supported colleagues with an understanding of the importance of building connections and working with the whole child. As an advocate for children, she encourages taking a solution-focused, positive behavior and support approach while guiding students to adopt an academic mindset that allows them to become lifelong learners. Before she begins, just a reminder that you will all be muted during this session. If for whatever reason you have a comment or a question, please put it in the chat box and there will be a question and answer period at the end of the session. I'm going to bring everyone into mute now and the session will begin.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Anthony, for that wonderful introduction. I love that. I will share my screen right now. I'm going to start and get you guys up there. Can we all see that? Well, I can't see you, but I'm assuming you can see that. So yes, hi, my name is Kirsten Greb. I'm so happy to be here. That wonderful introduction, amazing. And I'm so thankful and happy to be here speaking to you about mindfulness. And that you are here today, or the sheer number of you, that you recognize a need for mindfulness, whether within yourself, your students, whether you're looking to learn more, get a deeper understanding, and the recognition, right? And actually recognizing is being mindful already. So you are on the right track if you're here today, and we'll get into it. So the first thing I'd like you to do is unclench your jaw, lower the tongue from the roof of your mouth, soften your forehead, relax your shoulders, and breathe. Quite often, we hold a lot of tension in this part of our body. So throughout this presentation, if you can remember these three things, 4 things, breathing is a given, but if you can remember these 3 things to just stay calm and comfortable and relaxed, I would love that. Usually when I do this presentation in person, I have a lot of smells, like I have my diffuser going, lights, there might be some mandalas or things for you to color. Obviously, you can't do that here, being virtual. So what I would like for you to do at this time is get comfortable, whether it's lying down, sitting down, getting something cold, something hot to drink, anything that you need, something to doodle, anything that you need to help you stay relaxed and comfortable throughout this presentation, okay? So what are we going to discuss today? We're going to look at mindfulness. So what is mindfulness, what it means, and some benefits. I'm just going to lightly touch on stress and social emotional learning and a little bit of anxiety, just to show the correlation and how mindfulness can support when we're going through stressful times or feeling anxious, but I won't go into too much detail. Then we will explore some mindful practices that can be used in and out of the classroom with yourself, with students, in large groups. And all throughout this presentation, we're going to be putting our knowledge into practice because we learn best when we actually do, right? So, and it's all very flexible. You can choose to do what you like to do, or you can sit back and watch, whatever works for you. So starting, what is mindfulness? We hear this term a lot lately, being mindful, mindfulness. And if you go to the dictionary states that it is a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations. In other words, being fully present in the moment without being distracted by past anxiety or future uncertainties. Now, if we're looking at giving this definition for kids, you might say mindfulness means paying full attention to something. It means slowing down to really notice what you're doing. It's the opposite of maybe rushing and multitasking. When you're mindful, you're taking your time and you're focusing in a relaxed and an easy way. Ultimately, it's about waking up, right? Waking up to the state of our bodies, the state of our minds, our hearts, whether it be unpleasant or pleasant. It's paying attention on purpose, being grounded in the present moment, free of any judgment. And all that I just said is a lot easier said than done at times, right? It takes a lot of practice to get into this. But a state of mindfulness is also very conducive to our well-being, because when we're present, we become free of stress. When we're present in a moment, we're free of that worry, that anxiety. And although mindfulness doesn't offer quick fixes, it's just a moment of presence, of being in the now. And it can help you to see any challenges that you may come your way in a totally different way. And it also helps us to look at what we can control versus what we can't control. And that's a lot of what's going on right now with the pandemic and everything, right? Oh, I wanted to go back, actually. Yes, I forgot to mention that quote at the bottom. For fast-acting relief, try slowing down. I love that quote by Lily Tomlin, because it's so true. We're so go, go, go all the time. If we try to slow down a little bit, with a lot of benefits. So basically, these three words come up a lot. So it's awareness, acceptance, and being present. Awareness of our thoughts, our feelings, our external environment. Acceptance in terms of paying attention to these thoughts and feelings without judgment, and accepting everything exactly as they are with curiosity, though, looking at, and just trying to discover what's going on. Being present, full of focus and attention, and open to accepting experiences rather than resisting and wanting things to be different. Instead of resisting, we're just being present and aware of these emotions and feelings that we're seeing within our body. I love this picture. You may or may not have seen it. I use it in, I think, every presentation I give, that you can learn a lot from a dog. And it's very, very true, because if you think of a dog, they are one of the world's happiest animals, right? They are happy to see you when you get home. They're not thinking of the past. They're not thinking of the future. They're just right in that moment with you. And this picture speaks to me because it's true. If we're maybe going for a walk, we're thinking of the laundry list of things we have to get done. Lesson planning, maybe taxes, the laundry we have to do. There's just so much on our minds, and yet our dog is just, I'm in the moment, I'm going for a walk. It's a beautiful sunny day. So we can learn a lot from that, right? That's kind of what being mindful is. It's like thinking like a dog in a way. It helps us to lead simpler and healthier lives. We're so bombarded all the time, especially now with media and screens, and we often don't have downtime to just be. A lot of information, everything is just there. We live in this quick world of instant gratification too, and a lot of times students or children don't know what to do with any downtime anymore, right? They don't know how to just be with themselves. And a lot of times we're not given that time to just be still and think. So we kind of have to try to bring that focus back a little bit. I love this quote. Shamash Aldina is he's a mindfulness teacher that I follow based out of UK. And he says, your mind is the sky, thoughts and feelings are merely the weather. And basically it's the metaphor of your mind is the sky, and weather is always changing, right? On any given day. And so are your thoughts and your feelings in your mind as well. And the sky is untouched by this weather. It's there, it's just the weather's passing through. And so your mind can be seen as well as being untouched by these maybe challenging thoughts and feelings that are constantly passing through our minds all the time. I also like to describe mindfulness in a way too, like cars driving by on a highway. And that's from Headspace, a great app that I'll talk about later. But picture yourself standing on the side of a road or side of a highway, and cars are passing in front of you. And those cars are your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings. And being mindful is just standing there and watching them pass. Sometimes, some days you might have maybe a few more let's say, anxiety cars driving and less maybe happy cars, and that's okay. It changes, just like the roads change, right? We have to be mindful not to jump into, let's say, that anxiety car and go for a ride and stay with that one car. That leads to other things. So being mindful is really just taking a step back and being aware of everything passing in and out through us. And just by thinking too, if we give our time or ourself more time to be still, thinking about our students too, addressing all that noise that we have in our heads constantly with our students, ourselves. If we don't address that noise, we don't have that much success, right? If we're trying to learn something new in school. So we need to address everything that's going on in our heads. Now that we talked about what mindfulness is, I just want to quickly touch on what mindfulness is not, because sometimes when you think of mindfulness, you think of, oh, it's just meditation. It's just someone sitting on a pillow going on, like chanting. And although meditation is part of it, it's not the basis of what it is. So it's not just getting rid of any thoughts or just escaping them. It's about being aware, and it's about noticing any thoughts, positive, negative, and opening up and just allowing them to be there. It's not just positive thinking or relaxing. It's about being in the present moment and having the right attitude. And it's not about being perfect. There's no perfect way to do this. It's just about being there. And it's not just about paying attention. I know I was talking a lot about awareness and acceptance and attention, but it's not just about having attention. It's allowing yourself to be with whatever experience comes your way. So not getting rid of anything, but understanding, and like a dance, you're just kind of dancing with these emotions and thoughts that are going through your head. It's also not about changing who you are. It's actually, the more you practice mindfulness and the more mindful you are, the more you become aware of who you are and what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You get a better sense of yourself as you start to really notice what goes on inside your body and your mind. And again, it's not just meditation. Meditation is wonderful, but it's not just that. It's about awareness of everyday things. And the more we practice mindfulness on a day-to-day basis, the better equipped we become to make wiser and less emotive decisions in how we respond to things. And I love this little picture too, because if it was that easy, it would be wonderful. The cat saying, oh, mindfulness is living the present. And he's in a present. If only it was like that. So some benefits of teaching, practicing, modeling is key, mindfulness. We help students in many different ways. And Kira Willie, I'll talk about her a bit too. She has wonderful books and songs. She has this little TED Talk down here. She talks about these things as well. We know our students, or some students can have difficulty focusing. You know, there's behavior, we can have emotional issues, and some we're just not ready to learn certain times. And of course, this can cause a ripple effect in our classrooms too. So research has shown that by helping students, if we help them to learn how to self-regulate their behaviors through mindfulness, it promotes positive emotions of self-acceptance, improves emotional and cognitive awareness, increases the focus on the present, participation, self-control, respect for others. Just even 3 times a week for maybe 5 weeks can create significant gains in these areas. But quite often, we often tell our students to pay attention or to focus, but we don't always teach them how to do that. And mindfulness kind of does that. It directs your focus into what's going on inside of you. And one of the ultimate goals too is to give our students and ourselves enough distance from disturbing thoughts and emotions to be able to observe them without immediately reacting to anything. So taking note on what's going on, like I mentioned before, and redirecting your focus. Again, like watching those cars going by on the highway, right? We can do this too in small groups. We can do it, and I'll go through some of the strategies, but one-on-one, it can be a school-wide thing over the intercom. There's many, many ways that we can do this. John Kabat-Zinn is like one of the mindfulness gurus. He's been doing it for over 40 years. He's in Boston and wonderful. He says, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. So ultimately, if you think about it, especially now during this pandemic that we're all in, there will be pain, there will be loss, we will have disappointment in our life. We can't stop that from happening, but we are empowered to choose how we respond to whatever comes our way. So kind of like, we can't stop this pandemic, we can't stop the waves from coming, but we can learn how to ride them, right? How to observe them and notice how they make us feel. Pain is a given. It's unfortunate. Like I said, we all will go through pain, but suffering can be optional, depending on how we work with these emotions that are within our body and going on, right? So now that we went through all that, I just want to do a quick check-in. And I'm going to play just a quick 1-minute video for you. And it really is, you can find so many videos on YouTube, on any different platforms of silent 1-minute meditation videos where it's just a video. So those that don't want to maybe close their eyes, they can just watch some with sounds. I'm going to play one with sounds. And I want you to just do what's good for you. Close your eyes, watch the rainforest, whatever you need, focus on your breathing, just take some deep breaths and do a check-in with yourself. How are you feeling after hearing all that? Have there already been times that you've been mindful? Do you practice mindfulness? Do you see any benefits? Just, I want you to think about that. I'm going to play this for you. If it loads. Pause that there. Could listen to that forever, but we don't have forever. Now I can't see the chat, but if you feel like you want to, feel free to write in some words of how you're feeling, what's going through your mind. It can be anything. I'm tired. What is this Kirsten talking about? I honestly, whatever you need, if you feel comfortable, and we can go through that a bit after. So now that we spoke about mindfulness and we're hopefully calm, I want to talk about stress. And again, I'm not going to get into it. My colleagues just did a presentation actually just before and spoke a lot about stress. So I'm not going to get into it, but I just wanted just to let you know, what is stress? It really is our body's reaction to a physical or emotional situation that causes imbalance in a person's life. It takes us out of our comfort zone, but it is a normal mechanism that helps us to complete tasks, right? We all go through stressful times. It's when it becomes something chronic where it's impacting your daily life, where we're looking more into like maybe anxiety disorders, but I'm not talking about that today. I'm sure you've heard of the fight, flight, or freeze response, right? Basically, there are times in our life where being scared and being worried can help us. It's adaptive and it protects us from danger. It's like our own built-in red alert system, right? Our own little fire alarm that goes off. And it can produce adrenaline, or it produces adrenaline, which also causes temporary bodily changes. So your hands might get a little sweaty, your stomach may get a little butterflies. I used to go, because I've gone through stressful and had been anxious times in myself too. Sometimes we'll go red on my neck here. It's all normal. It preps you, right? It gets you ready for something. But Shamash, the mindfulness teacher that I follow, he also talks about if we're starting to deal with a lot of stressful situations, we can look at RAIN, right? And RAIN stands for different things. It's recognizing. So R is for recognition. You're recognizing that you're going through a tough time at this moment. Mindfulness is, again, bringing that act, the awareness of recognizing something going on inside you. So, and then awareness, right? Allowing the space to be self-compassionate as well too. For example, what would you say to your friend that's going through a stressful time or an anxious time? Be your own best friend at times. You have some compassion for yourself. I investigate. So where do I feel this in my body? And get curious about what's going on. Is it my stomach? Is it my head? And then N for is non-identified, meaning not saying I am anxious, I am stressed, because more of noticing, I notice stress, I notice the feeling of anxiety, because we're not always stressed or always anxious. If we are, again, that's something else that I'm not going to talk about, that leads to something else, but it's like a wave, right? It comes and it goes. So creating space by saying that I notice the feeling of stress, the feeling of anxiety, it creates some space from it to say that you're not defining yourself as those things. And again, now I can't see the chat, but if you feel if you feel free, write some words of how you deal with stress on a day-to-day basis, or how you're handling with it right now in this pandemic, and for other people to see. Some of the things that come up are maybe things we're going to be talking about as we move on. So just quickly now, also, if we're looking at anxiety with students, a lot of students we work with, we tend to see these behaviors come up. When it can be a lot more, right? We see the anger, we see defiance, we can see negativity. Chandeliering is when a seemingly quiet or calm person all of a sudden just flies off the handle for some little thing that you might even just say hi to the student and they react. It's because they've been bottling it up for so long, they just pop. Over planning as well. One thing that we have to keep in mind is if we're thinking of a student as behaving badly, that kind of disposes ourselves to think of a punishment. Whereas thinking of a student as struggling to handle something different, it encourages us to help them through this distress and guide them. And every behavior has a function, right? It's a form of communication. So we need to be kind of investigators, and like I'm sure you've seen the iceberg before, right? Just to talk about it, we see the top, but what's going on underneath the surface? We have our students, just like us, have so much going on in their minds. So we need to be those emotional investigators and helping our students too to name emotions, because without being able to name them and let our mind be still and really understand what's going on, a lot of extra behaviors can come out. No students intentionally want to misbehave, right? They don't wake up saying, I'm going to be angry today, or they don't wake up saying, I'm going to go into class and just ruin everybody's day. There's something deeper going on. So we have to work with that. And by giving language can help students understand also what's going inside me right now. Some things also that our brain is very powerful, right? A powerful muscle, and we can fall into these thinking traps. And again, stress and anxiety is a whole other presentation that I can talk more of another time, but Anxiety Canada also talks about, right, thinking traps. So sometimes we fall into these traps of our brain, like we start to fortune telling. I know I'm going to fail. And we're trying to predict the future, right? Or mind reading. Everyone here hates me. Everyone's laughing at me. And ultimately, they're not true. It's just our brain getting into this trap, this moment. So I'm going to show a quick little video. It's about a 4-minute video that you can also show some older students. I'll throw this presentation too. I should mention I'm going to be talking elementary, high school, and everything can be sort of adapted when we get into the activities. But I'll show you this video. It's You Are Not Your Thoughts, and it kind of explains mindfulness in a way as well too. Make it big for you.
You are not your thoughts. Every day we have thousands of thoughts, emotions, urges, memories, and feelings. From the time we wake up in the morning, all throughout the day, to when we lay down to sleep at night. No matter who we are, we all have thoughts swirling around in our heads. We even think and feel in our dreams. Often, we don't realize how many thoughts we are having, and we get lost in them. Sometimes we're not even aware that we're thinking. we seem to be swimming in a sea of our own thoughts. When we are surrounded by our thoughts, it's easy to get caught up in them and react automatically, sometimes in ways we don't even mean to react. We might hold on to some thoughts, even when we don't want to, and it can feel like our thoughts are overwhelming. But thoughts are not facts, and they are not always true, even if they seem to be. Next time you feel caught up in your thoughts, try paying attention to them with curiosity and not judgment. It doesn't matter if they are true or false, right or wrong, just notice them. How fast or slow are they? Are they all very different from each other? Or perhaps you're having the same ones over and over again. Maybe they're even focused on one theme. Some of these thoughts may be unwanted. But instead of reacting to them, notice what happens to your body sensations and your emotions when you have these thoughts. Perhaps you will notice if they are bringing you closer to or further away from what is important to you or the goals you have for yourself. Observing your thoughts is a skill that takes practice, like playing an instrument. Sometimes it'll be easy for you to be able to notice and respond to your thoughts. Other times, you might have to work really hard to get some distance from them. You might even have to keep letting go of the same unwanted thought over and over again. But don't give up. Keep trying. Like waves in the ocean, thoughts are always passing through our minds and can affect how we feel and what we do. But they are not us, and we are not our thoughts. Learning to be aware of our thoughts can allow us to respond with more choice instead of reacting in ways we may regret. Observing our thoughts gives us some distance to see how our thoughts make us feel. We can then choose to act in ways that bring us closer to the things and the people that are important to us. Remember, you are not your thoughts. Try observing your thoughts with curiosity. Try it right now.
Close that. So that's just a little video, and I forgot to mention that this presentation also will be provided. I already sent it to LCEEQ. You have access to this, and I think we'll add it in the chat at the end too. So all these links and videos you'll have access to. But just a reminder that, yeah, you are not your thoughts. You are in control of your thoughts, right? Even though it can be very difficult and very hard. I do acknowledge that. I was once told too, whatever we resist persists. So don't resist those feelings, even if they're uncomfortable. We have to be aware of them and see them. Acknowledge it. Allow it to be there. It may be, like I said, it might be uncomfortable, and then let it go. Like blowing bubbles, right? Your thoughts are your bubbles. When you blow a bubble, the bubble comes out, and when it pops, that's it. It's gone. So quickly now too, just social emotional learning, again, a whole other presentation in and of itself. But I just want to say how mindfulness really supports social emotional learning as well too, because if you look at a lot of the same terms and everything keep coming up, right? Self-awareness, self-regulation, how to manage emotions. And we help students understand their own feelings through social emotional learning too, right? We practice social skills and empathy. We teach to the whole child. We see a lot of improvements in behavior too, and we teach more when we're looking at in social emotional learning approach as well. But we also have to give our students the language. And again, as I said, I'm not going to go into too much about social emotional learning, but helping give students the language of emotions, like the I feel, I need. We can't tell students what they're feeling. You look angry. Maybe they're not angry. Maybe they're feeling disappointed or hurt, right? So giving that language, I am frustrated right now. I need to take a break. So, and also not telling our students, or even yourselves too, other people, what they need. You look angry, you need to go take a walk. Well, maybe they don't need to take a walk, right? Everybody's toolkit, as my colleagues mentioned in the previous presentation, are different. And by doing that, one way we can do that is through the zones of regulation. Again, I'm going to say it again, it's a whole other presentation, but just quickly, if you haven't heard of the zones of regulation, it's a great tool that you can use in school-wide, class-wide, in everywhere. It was designed by an OT to help students gain skills in the area of self-regulation, right? It helps students recognize emotions in themselves and others, learn body cues associated with these emotions, and teaches how to use tools and strategies to deal with certain emotions appropriately. So in a nutshell, there's 4 zones, right? The blue, green, yellow, red. Blue being a bit in the lower zone, you may be sad, sick, tired, slowing a bit. Green, you're happy, calm. Yellow, you're starting to get a little heightened, anxious, frustrated, worried. And red is you've popped, right? Like it's kind of over the edge a little bit. And no zone is a bad zone. We all go through feelings like these, sometimes daily, sometimes, there's no bad zone. It's just what tools we choose to use while we're in each zone. One way to explaining to children is, you might remember these guys. It's a bit older now, but the movie Inside Out, fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, I cry every time I think I see this movie, but right, there's different emotions, characters, sadness, happiness, anger, jealousy. And so sometimes I've seen them in schools where they use the characters like this to be a bit more relatable, so that they can really understand what's going on in that as well. So when we're looking at the zones of regulation too, we're looking at a check-in. So checking in, how are we feeling right now in this moment? At the start of the day, could be midday, any day, and throughout the day. And it leads to a lot of discussions too, right? The discussion too of what's in your own toolkit. If let's say I'm in the blue zone, what do I need to make myself feel okay? So maybe I need to talk about how I'm feeling. Maybe I need to ask for a hug if it's not a pandemic time, right? There's different things, but it's also important too to have visuals and show what emotions look like, because with the younger ones too, often sometimes children don't know what maybe angry looks like. Maybe they think, oh, they're just looking, a little silly. We don't know. So really giving them the language and giving visuals of what it looks like, helping teach what it feels like also inside. What's going on with your face when you're feeling a certain emotion? That was quickly in a nutshell. Dr. Gordon Neufeld, I love this quote too, the ultimate gift is to make a child feel invited to exist in our presence exactly as he is and to express our delight in his very being. Isn't that just beautiful? And that really ultimately is, right? No matter what's going on, is just loving our students and for who they are, for whatever's going on, and helping and guiding them through this journey of learning what's going inside of our bodies, right? So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of some mindfulness techniques, and I'm going to start with the number one it's my number one that I go to. It's one of the most powerful ones. We breathe, right? We need to breathe to survive. So breathing really, really is a very strong technique that you can use, and there's different ways we can go about looking at that. So the first thing is diaphragmatic breathing. And that's really breathing through your diaphragm as opposed to your chest, which we'll get into. But I just want to talk about our nervous system a little bit. We have our sympathetic nervous system, right? It's our fight and flight response, the one that's kind of like our alarm. And when that one's lit up, right, our heart rate increases, maybe shortness of breath, our throat might get tight. We want to kind of light up the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest. And that's when our more of a relaxed, calm state, we're breathing through our diaphragm. It increases the blood flow to the brain. It's basically telling our body all is okay. And so to do that, what we'll do it now. So if I can't see you, and I can't even see myself, I'm talking to a little circle on my computer here, but put one hand on your stomach and one hand on your chest, and feel free to close your eyes or keep your eyes open. It's ultimately whatever it is for you. And just take a few slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just find your natural rhythm. Try to slow it down if you find it's going a bit too fast. And now I want you to notice the next time you breathe, what's raising? Is it your chest or is it your stomach? Because it can take a bit of getting used to breathing through your stomach and your diaphragm. We often breathe through our chest. So if you find that's happening, it's okay. Just give yourself a minute to notice and just try again to just really get that breath deep down into your belly. You can do that a few times. And you can continue to do this as long as you like. I'm going to continue talking because I am mindful of the time. But you can just try to get that breath into your belly. Because this controlled breathing really, like I said before, it tells our body that all is okay. It calms our nervous system and it can make us and our students ready to learn. Imagine doing just one breath right before a test or right before you're about to give a lesson. I did a few breaths right before I started this presentation, right? There's some videos too that you can watch to help you with the rhythm of your breathing. There's a ball, right, that opens and closes, and I do have one that's linked in this presentation for you to see. But this doesn't have to be, and this doesn't have to be a long practice too, what I was going to say. It's short little consistent practices of breathing will have benefits. I also want to point out that we can't just tell our students, okay, it's time to breathe now. For the younger ones, it's good to make it a bit creative, and I'll get into that in the next slide. But we have to be mindful not to use this tool in the heat of the moment. So for example, let's say you're with your partner and you're getting into a bit of an argument and your partner says to you, okay, you need to calm down and go take some breaths. It might not be the best time to say that, right? I don't think in the history of anyone, when someone tells you to calm down, you don't calm down, it actually heightens you, right? So we are teaching these breathing techniques in a calm state so that hopefully when the student's more in like a yellow zone, when it's starting to you can start the breathing techniques. Because when we're at that heightened spot, it's not the time. We can give our students the chance to kind of calm down on their own, and then we start the breathing. But it's important to teach these when we're in a more calm state. So when I'm talking about younger students, and Kira Willie, her book is in my next slide, to make it fun and make it creative. And you can think of some of your own, but here are some here that you may or may not have heard of. For example, hot chocolate. Pretend you're holding a cup of really hot chocolate and take a deep breath in. Oh, what does it smell like? And then breathe out. So you a deep breath out so that you can drink it. You got to cool it off. And you can do that a few times and get really descriptive about it too. There's the take 5, right? Where you breathe in, hold, you touch the top of your finger. That's where you hold, and then down. Star breathing, same thing. You're following the pattern on the star. Smelling a flower. You could say, oh, wow, I just picked a bouquet of beautiful flowers. My flowers are yellow and pink. What color are yours? What do they smell like? Take a deep breath in. Maybe it smells sweet, and then breathe out, right? And again, getting creative, descriptive. What do they look like? What does it smell like? The bee breath is just when you're breathing in through your mouth, your nose, and out through your mouth with a little hum, because the humming also produces a calming energy. It's really about being creative. So here's the book I was talking about, Breathe Like a Bear. So Kira Willie, fantastic. Or there's alpha breaths too, different mindful breathing for different letters of the alphabet. And these, yes, are geared more towards the younger children, but like I said, we can adapt things for our older students and even ourselves. Like some of these little activities in this book here, I've used on myself just because they're adaptive, right? So when we're looking at breathing, so we're looking at the deep breaths, using bubbles is another great way to make it visual for the younger kids, to really, so they see their breath coming out. Or there's pinwheels. I don't know if you can see me on a little screen. Pinwheels is another thing because they love to see it spin. It's visual, right? To see your breath. And you just have to be mindful that we're not breathing really fast because that defeats the purpose. But if you can find these, and they love them, and making it visual, like I said. There's the sound bell, which is a little video there. It's through Cosmic Kids Yoga. Cosmic Kids Yoga, she's fantastic. I love her voice. And that's really bringing a focus. So while you're breathing, you're listening to this bell that's going off. And when you stop hearing it, you bring your attention back. And actually, I was going to play it for you, but I do have my own little bell. So what I'm going to do now is just ask you to just, again, eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you feel comfortable with. And go back to that diaphragmatic breathing we were talking before. And just breathe in and out. And I'm going to ring this my little bell here, and just keep breathing. And when you no longer hear it, and I hope you can hear it through the screen, when you no longer hear it, just open your eyes and bring your awareness back, but really focus on the sound, okay? So breathe in, out. Now, I don't know how well you heard that, but there are videos that play them if you don't have one of those yourself. It really helps with the focus and directing your breathing and listening. I've done it with students too, through that video, Cosmic Kids Yoga, where they have to listen to the bell. When they no longer hear it, they put their hands in their lap, right? So moving on, the patience game is just something that I've seen done before. That's been, you're with a partner, and the ultimate, the goal of the game is you're trying to make your partner laugh. So you're not focusing on the future or the past. You're focusing right in the present moment, trying to make that person laugh. What does it feel like? What does it look like to laugh? And we can build on that discussion. And of course, laughing and smiling, right, relaxes our body. It helps us to be a bit more focused, right? We need to laugh. We need to laugh. It's manages stress, lowers our heart rate, and all this breathing does all this too. So we need to always focus on, when we're looking at breathing techniques too, if we can try to slow it down and a smooth, continuous pattern. And you do what works for you as well, right? Moving on. So here, one mindful breath. Even if it's not a whole technique, just one mindful breath can calm you down. And this is, I'm not going to play it for you, but in this link here, and if you click that after it, that's that little video of that ball that rises, opens and closes. So you can breathe along with it. I find that there's a few out there that are a bit too fast for me. So you find one that works for you. There's some that go up and down. I've seen some with animals. It's really, there's so many things out there. But ultimately, this intentional breathing, it prompts us to slow down, right? To tune into the present and take a mental note of how we're feeling. One big deep breath into the base of our lungs and gently smiling as we breathe out. Just basically planting a seed, and you water it how you want. You breathe how you add a length to it as you want. But waking up in the morning, one mindful breath is so very powerful. Movement. So let's go into some movement now. We're going to talk a bit about mindful movement. But before I do that, I'm going to try something with you. Now, I do this when I do this in person with when I'm doing this presentation. I like to get people up and moving. I'm going to go with it, and you take it if you want. If you don't feel like doing it, you think I'm crazy, that's no problem. You just sit and you watch. It's Jack Hartman. He's hilarious. I find he makes these funny little videos for kids to get up and get moving. So he's going to teach us how to do the floss dance. If you feel like it, get up, stretch your legs. If you're sitting down, learn how to do the floss dance, do a little shake around. We're just going to do this for a little bit, and then we'll come back, okay?
Jack Cartman! Kids Music Channel!
Everybody stand up. Everybody spread your feet. Keep your arms straight, your hands and fists, and a little bend your knees. Slide your hips out to the left and to the right. Swing your arms straight together, side to side. Do the floss dance. Everybody's doing it now. Do the floss dance. Just get on up, then get on down. Do the floss dance. All the world is having fun. Do the floss dance. Do it, everyone. Floss, floss, floss. 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 Do the floss dance.
Okay.
Everybody's doing it now. Do the floss dance.
Enough of that. Hopefully you don't think I'm too crazy there, and there's some smiles, and there's some, you took advantage of that little movement break, because movement clears our heads, right? We're not meant to be sedentary. We're not meant to be sitting all the time. I don't know if you can tell, hopefully I'm not moving too much. I'm standing. I can't sit for long periods of time. So we need to get up and we need to move. And it helps our memory and our overall brain health, right? And there's different ways we can do this movement, like, go noodle. There's movement breaks, dance breaks. And as you see here, right, the benefits of a brain break, like after we're sitting quietly for too long, our brain essentially starts to not maybe shut down, but not as lit up as after going for a walk for 20 minutes or moving for a little bit, right? If you have more everything going on. So another way for being mindful too is through yoga. Now, you don't have to be a yoga teacher. I'm not a yoga teacher, but I've included some yoga practices with the younger kids too, of like animal yoga. They love to pretend they're animals. And you can find many examples and tutorials online on the videos. There's definitely different ways to do this. One of the schools that I worked at more recently, we created a room to breathe, and it's like a yoga space where classes, individuals, people can come in and then do some yoga, mindful breathing. And now I am very mindful though that space is an issue in our buildings. So it doesn't have to be a room. If we create a little corner in our classroom or a little area for students to go to where they can take a break and relax, even for yourselves too, even for us, right? Put on maybe a headset, listen to some music. This little picture in the corner there, I don't know if you know about Force 4 or Force 4. They are like a Go Noodle, but in French. So for all those French teachers out there, if you're looking for like French movement video capsules, fantastic website. And they came to the school that year that I was there, and we were the only English school chosen actually out of all Quebec, where they came to film all the different movement initiatives we put in place. And at one point I could not for the life of me find them. I was walking around the whole school with this like list of things, the schedule we had to follow, and couldn't find them. They were in this room to breathe, taking a mindful break. So it just goes to show you that we need it too. It's not just for our students, right? We all need this to take a break. So the body scan, this is another one that I love to do. Basically, if you've never heard of a body scan reminds us that we have a body. We spend so much time in our heads, and our body holds many messages. For example, it tells us when we're hungry, tells us when we're tired. Think of yourself, teachers, this is a number one, we holding to go to the bathroom and then not realizing until it's too late. And then you really got to go and you're running to your partner saying, I really need to go to the bathroom, right? But we're not listening to our body. Also, yes, I understand time is an issue too, but we're not always listening to our body, or when we're working so much that we forget to eat, right? We tune out our body. And so a body scan can really connect us to what's going on in the now and what's going on with our body. And there's many different versions of body scans that you can do. There are some that are 3 minutes all the way up to 30, 45 minutes. I've done some that are 30 minutes long. I'm not going to do that with you today. We're going to do a short one. But if you can just take maybe 10 minutes out of your day just to do a scan of your body, starting from the bottom up to the top, of notice what's going on throughout each part of your body. So we will do one, but before I get to that, when you're doing a body scan, like I said, you're focusing again on that breath, bringing awareness to all the different parts of your body. And you can do this through having someone read a script, listen to a recording. That's my usual, I prefer that, or even watching a video. Go Zen Online and Cosmic Kids Yoga, they have some good ones too. There's some more scripts in these books that I have here. Counselor Carrie, she's a guidance counselor of Hawaii who had some as well too. There's many mindful stories that you can read and again, or find, but I want to do a video with you now. It's a 3-minute body scan. So what you need to do is just find a comfortable position. If you like to close your eyes and listen, go ahead. If you want to watch the video instead, because it is very visual, you can do that as well, whatever is comfortable to you.
Fly with Abel and Phi. Body scan meditation. Sit in a comfortable position and bring attention to your body. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. You can notice your body seated wherever you are, feeling the weight of your body on the chair or on the floor. Take a few deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now bring your attention to the top of your head. Sense this area. What do you feel? Stillness or a feeling running through your hair? Breathe, and as you breathe, relax the top of your head. Continue to breathe and move your attention to the side of your head in your ears. What do you sense? Do you hear anything? Now bring your attention to the neck and throat. Let them be soft. Relax. Soften your jaw. Let your face and facial muscles be soft. Smile softly and gently. Notice your back against the chair. Bring your attention into your stomach area. If your stomach is tense or tight, let it soften. Take a breath. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften. Notice your arms. Feel any sensation in your arms. Let your shoulders be soft. Bring your attention to your legs and your feet. Feel your feet touching the ground and making a connection with it. Now notice your whole body present. Take one more breath. Be aware of your whole body as best you can. Take a breath, and then, when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
So that was just one example of a quick body scan that can be done. But again, there's many you can find online as well. Something else I want to mention too is progressive muscle relaxation, which you may or may not have heard of. And that's the act of tightening muscles and letting go. And you can do that starting throughout the whole body as well too. So, starting from your feet, tight, and letting go. With kids though, it's again, making it creative. So like holding on, pretend you're squeezing, you can feel free to do this with me too. Squeeze tight, tight, tight your fists and pretend you're squeezing lemons and you want to squeeze all the lemon juice out. You want to make the best lemonade you can. So you squeeze, squeeze, get it all out. Oh, feel the tightness and release. How does that feel? And then you can go through all the muscles of your body as well. I'm taking a mindfulness-based stress reduction course right now. And we had a whole session, we were talking about letting go. And we were talking about squeezing your hands tight. And what does that really feel like when you're squeezing something really tight, right? It might be uncomfortable, it hurts. I'm not breathing as calmly as I'd like. I feel tense. And then what happens when you slowly release? A sense of more calm. Your hands don't hurt as much. The pain is gone. And now relate that to emotions and our thoughts. When you're constantly holding on to something and that's what it feels like, right? It's especially something negative. It can hurt. It's painful. And when we let it go, right? It's a release. We're free in a sense. So that leads me to visualization. Their guided imagery and relaxation scripts are very powerful. We can do one right now. We'll jump right into it. So again, feel free to close your eyes open or closed. And I just want you to think of someone that you love. And I want you to picture them standing in front of you. And now I want you to think of something kind that you can say to that person. See their reaction, how it makes them feel. And now think of someone else that may be struggling with something, maybe someone that you don't get along with that well or never really talk to. And now think of something to say to that person. What is their reaction? How are they feeling? How are you feeling? Visualization is a form of relaxation. It can really help you reach potential and define new goals as well. Pretty much when you imagine yourself in a situation, your brain releases different biochemicals, right? Based on your feelings about that event or that situation. So for example, if you're remembering something negative, stress hormones can be released into your body. Whereas if you're focusing on something a bit more positive, a loving person, a joyful experience, it increases that level of endorphins and serotonin, making you feel a bit more relaxed and positive. One way through that is the 60-second fix. Dr. Reggie Melrose, I don't know if you've heard, this is from a while ago, but she had a script to read and took 60 seconds to help students ground themselves. And she had you imagine a safe place, a calming place, a place that made you happy. What is it? What are you hearing in this moment? What does it sound like? And so you're really thinking, you're creating this, or you're in your safe space in your brain. I can go into this more detail if you want more information. I'm not going to do it with you now because of time, but it's another fantastic, Dr. Reggie Melrose, great tool there. Mark Brackett is another, he's like a social emotional learning guru too. He has incredible books, but he talks about a meta moment. And that's a moment inside a moment. I never knew what meta stood for before, but it's a moment inside a moment. So basically what he's saying is when you're starting to notice something going on inside your body, you sense this shift. So you need to stop because you're activated, right? You kind of like, you notice something's going on and you don't want to do something that you might regret. So you take a pause, you take a breath, and then you activate your best self. So visualize your best self in this moment. Think about maybe someone that you respect is watching you in this moment. How would you react? How would your best self react in this moment? Or what would your best self say in this situation? Then you strategize and act and pull from your toolkit and use what you need to do. So basically visualizing our best self, essentially it redirects our attention away from this trigger that set us off and helps us to choose a helpful emotion regulation strategy that works for us. And there's this little picture here that kind of describes it, but that's something if you type in, if you want to learn more too, you just type in meta moment Mark Brackett, and that's an excellent one. So now activating your senses, the five senses, right? Music, lighting, smells, touch, mindful eating. How many times do we eat, but we don't really taste our food because we're always on the go? So taking that moment to just pause and what does it feel like in our mouth? What does it taste like? Or smells, how does that smell make us feel? Different smells, right? They make us think and feel different things, different positive emotions. So some examples, just quickly, with our students, right? There's different fidgets, there's toys, there's mindful coloring, or coloring to music is fantastic. You can see what students come up with. Stress ball, sensory bins, listening to music. I wish I could be playing music for you guys here. It's very powerful. And of course, being mindful to everybody's likes and dislikes, right? Some people don't like certain smells, some people don't like certain sounds. Just being mindful of that too. You might be wondering why I have pictures of rats here. Those were my two resource rats when I was a resource teacher. I had them in my classroom, Archie and Max, who are sadly no longer with us anymore. They make fantastic pets. They're not sewer rats, don't picture that. Fantastic pets, the students love them. They are so sweet. They are so intelligent, and even the students with the most, the biggest behavior issues would come, and seeing the empathy and how much they cared for these animals. The power of pet therapy is huge. There's some schools now that I know have some dogs, right, in and out of the schools, and it is so powerful, just that connection we have with animals and how they can calm and soothe us. Now, I'm not saying to go out and go buy rats for your classroom if that's not your thing. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm just saying the power of pet therapy, of touching the fur, maybe your own pets, right? How do they make you feel? They calm you down. And some schools, yes, with allergies, we might not have animals in the school, but just even talking about them, bringing in pictures, building that connection too of maybe your students have animals. And that helps to calm them. And then you can talk about what you have, what works for you. It's very, very powerful pet therapy. Okay, and fidgeting. I was gonna mention, yes, fidgeting, like I mentioned before, we all fidget. Play with your necklace, play with your hair, play with your pen. It's something we all do. And it actually kind of brings us, it helps us to focus and brings us kind of into the present moment and into the now, so to speak. Maybe not sticking the pencil in your nose like that picture is doing there, but you see she's playing with her hair, or she's clicking her pen. There's also the finger tap. It's another one. You could even turn this into a mindful activity too, where you tell your students, okay, focus on, you can do this with me now if you want to, but just focus on touching your fingers. And what does it feel when you go back and forth, tapping each thumb, each finger to each thumb, to your thumb, and then stretching out your hand and then switching hands. And you can add a count to that too. If you're starting to feel anything inside, just 1, 2, 3, 4, just to kind of ground and bring you back, right? All to say is fidgeting is something we all do without even realizing it at times. And it's something that's very powerful for our students and ourselves. So just to summarize too, so basically live. Don't just swallow taste. Don't just sleep dream. Try to feel, observe, be more, try to bring in more awareness of what's going on around you at any given time. And that leads me to reconnecting with nature and Zen walks. So for me, when I say Zen walk, it's just being mindful of your time outside. So 5 to 10 minutes outside, really getting to know the smells, the sights, the taste. Does the air taste different to you? Noticing the snow crunching under your feet. I'm lucky enough to live near a little forest, but you don't need a forest to go outside, right? You just get outside with your students and help them clear their heads, right? Get the fresh air. It helps students to kind of feel more at peace, and even yourselves. And it's important too, that's why recess is so important, that we can't take recess away. Our students need to get outside and get that fresh air and get that change of atmosphere. But it's not just for them, it's for you too, right? For us too. We're cooped up in these buildings for so long all the time that we need to just get outside and reconnect with nature, right? And just take a mindful breath whenever we can. It's very, very powerful being outside. So that leads me to gratitude, which is another huge thing, talking about enjoying the little things, like little things of being outside. But I love this quote from Rumi. She says, Rumi says, gratitude is the wine for the soul. Go on and get drunk. So you basically just overload yourself with gratitude, and the benefits are very positive. So you may have heard about this before, where you're writing down 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of each day. When you're feeling down, you can go back and look at what you wrote as a reminder. And you can do this with the students as well. Take a few minutes at the end of every day, writing in their journals or writing what they enjoyed best, a small notebook, a little cards on a ring they keep at their desk. As children or students that can't write yet, you can draw little pictures, say it verbally in discussions. Just basically look for 3 good things that happened in the day. There's always at least 3 good things on any given day. Even the hardest day, we can find 3 good things. Even for parents, right? When your kids come home, you say, how was your day? Okay, can't get much out of them, right? But really saying, so what was the best part of your day today? What did you enjoy the most? And really focusing on being grateful. So taking at some point today, if you can take 5 minutes to think of something that you feel grateful for today. And one way we can do this in the classroom too is through a thankful tree. You can go out and get a stick and have students write on the leaves, and you can have it in your classroom, or make it into a big board where you're posting different leaves around the school or around in your classroom. But sometimes it's not always easy to think of on the spot, right? So we might have to give some cues, so such as like maybe think about a skill or ability you have, an item that you love, something that makes you laugh. So these are all ways to kind of pull out what people are thankful for. And then you can turn these even into reflection journals, or it can be a jar even where you're sticking everything into the jar. Thinking about positive retrains our brain to look for the good and really focus on the positive. And it shows us that every day may not be good, but there's something good in every day, right? I love that little quote. There's also the gratitude game. So what you can do with the gratitude game is using Skittles, if you want to do it with candy, or colored rods or anything. And so you have students reach into a bag and pull out a color. So let's say you got orange. Okay, name a place you're thankful for. And then you explain with your partner in a large group setting, anything. Why are you grateful for that word chosen? Think about how it makes you feel. That leads to positive affirmations, right? We see these everywhere nowadays too, little things like today's gonna be a good day. But the power of our voice and the power of being positive it's true. It rings so true. And that leads to positive mantras. So, or mindful mantras. And you can find some online, but it's more powerful if you really think of what you need at the time or come up with them with your students. If we were in person, I would have you do this again too. So I'm going to go ahead and say them. I can't hear you, I can't see you, but repeat after me if you like. So we're going to say, today is a new day. I can start fresh. I am smart. I am loved. I am awesome. Okay, so hopefully you did that with me, but if not, it's all good. We all need reminders, and this positive self-talk goes a very long way in changing our mindset and understanding how quite often we're talking ourselves down without even realizing it. We can change our brain by adopting new thought patterns, it's like a muscle, right? To overcome these negative thoughts and focus on the present. You can do this also by, again, I said a board for gratitude. You can have a board too of positive sayings and words, and it's almost like a take what you need. Where you write down positive affirmations and you stick them there. Maybe someone needs to hear that today, so they take it, but then you can replace it. I've seen that with Post-it notes. It's wonderful. I want to show you a quick little video. You may have seen this little girl because it's a bit old now, but I love this little girl. She is standing in front of a mirror talking about how awesome she is. And if we could just do that with ourselves every day, I think the world would be a better place. I'll play this little.
Look, I can be a shark. Now my whole house is great.
I just love that little girl so much. I can do anything good better than anyone, right? So telling herself, it's her little daily affirmations, and think about how amazing we would feel if we all just spoke to ourselves that way. There's a video I want to show you. I don't have time, but it's in the video, a slide in here. It's called The Reflection in Me. And it's a girl that walks by a mirror. It's a cartoon. And she looks at herself and gets down. And the mirror, basically, her mirror image says, "You're perfectly perfect," and starts talking about how perfect you are. And it always gets me emotional, that video. So at one point, if you have time, to watch that. It's very powerful, our voice. Because quite often, like I said, we start out our mornings, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we'll focus on the negative. Oh, I've gained that COVID-15, maybe it's COVID-20 now, those 20 pounds, right? I'm not feeling what my hair's, I need to re-dye my hair, all these things. Retrain it, have them write it, even stick them on your mirror, write down things. I am beautiful, I am smart, I am whatever you need. And again, I can't tell you what that is. You have to feel that for yourself. Oh yeah, so here, Buddha says our life is shaped by our mind, for we become what we think, right? And it's so true. Our body, our heart, we know what's good, like our heart here, right, knows what's good, but our brain, we tend to focus on the negative or focus on the bad. So we need to kind of retrain that. And positive mantras can definitely help that. Morning meetings and classroom connections, just quickly wanted to touch on that too, because all these activities, we can do these in these times, but it also helps to build our connections with our students, right? Circle time, give a compliment, take a compliment is when you're sitting in a group and you have the choice of either giving someone a compliment or taking a compliment. So maybe if in that time, that moment, you're feeling a bit down, you want to hear something positive, you have someone else say it to you. There's group discussions, there's mailboxes. Popcorn with a ball is just a different way of doing a discussion, because often if we're sitting in a circle, I don't know about you, but when we're going around one by one, my anxiety builds up as it gets closer and closer to me, especially if the person before me has said what I wanted to say. Now I have to quickly think of something else and the pressure rises. So for me, I prefer to do popcorn, which is really like, popcorn just kind of pops at random at its own time. So whoever has an idea and you pop, it's random as opposed to going in the circle. That's very visual. Morning mantras, lunch dates, smiling and saying hi. Basically what I'm trying to say is too that kids need to talk. We need to talk, right? We need to vent and discuss things, but so do our students. And we can foster all of this through a lot of these morning meetings and connections. And their problems are really real and big to them, right? So we can't brush them off. We have to take the time to talk it out, just like we need to talk things out. So getting into grounding now, the act of grounding really brings us back into the present moment, into the now. One of the ways that I've used this one with myself and with students is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. And you can have it visual with a checklist like this here, or you just remember 5-4-3-2-1. So you always start with taking a breath, and then you name 5 things that you can see in the room that you're standing in right now, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And if you really can't taste something, I try to say, think about your toothpaste, or maybe it's your coffee, or then 1 thing that you really love about yourself. And what this does, it helps you, it goes through your 5 senses to bring you into the present moment and get you out of maybe a stressful situation or your mind is going. And it grounds you into the now, takes you out of your head, stops those flooded thoughts in a way. You can also do this as a room search. So I want you to look for everything that's green in this room and name them, everything that's red, and go through like that. With younger students, you can tell them, okay, we're going to switch up your senses now to superhero level, like Spider-Man. So turn on your Spidey senses, and we're going to look for 5 things that you can see. Go. 4 things, what do you feel right now? And again, it all comes back to being creative with those younger students, right? And lastly, it's really looking for moments. So being mindful can be anytime throughout the day. And so really looking for those moments too, right? Like for example, when you wake up, take a breath, 1 breath. How are you feeling? Before you answer your phone, before you write that email, maybe you want to take a breath. Feel your feet on the ground. while you're sitting at your computer or you're sitting on your chair. Feel your back up against the chair. Take a drive, and when you're driving home from work, turn your radio off and notice what's going on around you. I've been doing that lately, and I actually really enjoy the stillness in the car. Take a breath before eating, and when your mindful bite. When you're taking a shower or a bath, feel the water on your skin, the heat, and how is it making you feel? The smell of the soap, right? The steam in the shower, what's going through, all these different sensations. And are there other moments that you can be present for, that your students can be present for? You can do these on Mindful Mondays, looking for moments, right? Like, so for example, here on the picture like that, I love that little boy jumping in the puddle. He has his umbrella out, but he's jumping in the puddle. That's just being in the present moment. There's a puddle. Let's just enjoy the little things. So now when we're looking though, more in the classroom, for teaching mindfulness in the classroom, there's a book that I read too, Teaching Kids to Thrive, and one chapter is on mindfulness. They really talk about this too, but it's really being aware of your own emotions, because we play a setting in the pace and tone of the classroom, right? So when we're trying to do mindfulness with our students and in the classroom, we have to also set up the right atmosphere. Crowded classrooms, chaotic, can create a chaotic mind, right? If it's a bit disorganized. So maybe lighting, sounds. And again, you can take an inventory from your students of what they prefer. Some may prefer to have the lights off. Those lights, those really fluorescent lights can be hard on our eyes, but some may like it. We don't know. Making sure mindfulness is not mandatory. And this is key, because a lot of times students will not want to participate. And that's okay. You can't make it mandatory. That's why even with you, I said eyes open, eyes closed. It's whatever is comfortable, because a lot of times when we're really focusing in on how we're feeling, our emotions, it can bring up a lot of negatives, right? Or previous trauma. And that's uncomfortable, and that's hard to deal with, especially for some of our students. So they choose to just push it away. And so we can't force someone to do these techniques. We can say just, okay, if you're not feeling, just sit there, watch. Or if they'd like to leave the room, and then eventually gradually build on that and slowly include them when they are ready. Because if we force it, it goes the opposite, right? Being a good marketer too is just in the sense of explaining why we're doing this. We're doing this to help your body feel calm. Just explaining, because if we don't explain what we're doing, sometimes our students are like, okay, well, what's the meaning of that? What's the purpose? Keeping it simple too. We don't have to do big extravagant things. You don't have to be a mindfulness teacher to implement some of these things. Very short little consistent practices, like I said, are key. And as long as you practice, right? It's the more you do it. I think it takes 21 days to develop a habit, right? So consistent, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more it just happens without you even noticing it. When I started practicing mindfulness, I really was like, okay, I have to think about being mindful. But that's kind of defeats the purpose, and now it just happens. And it's really interesting to see how it progresses within you. So using mindfulness yourself is key too, because then you can better to explain it to your students. And then have a mindfulness area or station in your room where kids can go as well, can help. So some helpful reminders too. There's Don Andrews out of the UK talks about pace. So some things to remember. So you position yourself, you become aware of what's going on, you would check in, and you embrace the feelings and emotions. There's stop, which there's a video there too. So you can click on that at another time to watch, where it just talks about you stop. So you stop, you take a breath, observe, and proceed. So it's noticing what's going on, again, inside your body. It's about being gentle with ourselves too, right? We're just giving a minute for yourselves amidst all the chaos that's going on. So there's no need to be perfect. We're just stop, take a breath. And so I encourage you to watch that little video in that link when you have a chance. There's also this one here, and they're all very similar if you look at it. This one's based on age, but so in the middle, ABC, right? Attention, breath, choose. So you're choosing. And then for a little bit older, you stop, take a breath, accept, and restart. or the older ones, pause, exhale, accept, choose, and engage. So they're all very similar. It's all about pausing for a moment, taking a breath, recognizing what's going on, choosing the right tool or figuring out what's going on, and then engaging and then proceeding with this little poster that you can look into a bit after too. There's also tons of mindfulness and relaxation apps. These are just a few. I know there's some that I don't even have listed there that you might even know of, but Headspace and Calm are two wonderful ones. Headspace, I love that guy's voice. If you haven't heard his voice, he is so relaxing. But there's many that you can find there, and there's some examples. Here's some websites for you as well. There's Cosmic Kids Yoga, Go Zen Online. The Mindful website is just a website full of different blogs and different articles speaking about how you can incorporate mindfulness into your life. Your Calm Spot is different strategies that you can use too for teens to even go and use on their own. Same thing with McGill Meditation. Anyway, you can explore those websites another time. I have some resources here for you as well. Mindful moments cards that you can download, animal breathing techniques, different scripts for you that you might like to use. And there's some videos here that I wish I could show them all to you, but I don't have time. And so one, they kind of explain what mindfulness is, how mindfulness really is it's a two-winged bird, right? It's mindfulness and compassion, being compassionate with ourselves, which we tend to forget at times. How to practice self-care in difficult times, and that reflection in me video, which I just love. If we could all see ourselves, I guess, the way the mirror image of ourselves sees us, right? In that positive view. So Shamash Aldina, again, he had a little video here, you can watch it. It's just tips for practicing mindfulness during a pandemic. And basically, it's just, I just want to reiterate too, that when we're hearing all these messages of being mindful or appreciate what we have or be positive and this and that, it can leave us at times feeling that we're falling short, right? Especially in challenging times, like, oh, well, I didn't, okay, well, I'm not positive, and that means there's something wrong with me. But it's really, it's not that. There's so many demands, right, on our attention, and simply just not enough hours in a day to maybe do something new or go for a walk and then we feel bad about it. But there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just remember that everything that you're doing, if you're looking into mindfulness, is fine. Everyone's doing the best they can at this moment. And just short little practices, even one mindful breath, like I said before, it's even written there, is beneficial. And at the same time, if you can try to bring some movement, because like I said, we're not made to be sedentary. Movement is key. So even if you're doing a walking, I would say a walking meditation in a sense of if you go outside and you're going for a little walk and being mindful of what's going on around you, it can make a difference. And again, I just want to reiterate that you don't need to be perfect. There's no right or wrong way. So just quickly too, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. And this is like a little bit on self-care, but again, what works for me may not work for you. And I love this little picture because it says all of us charge differently, so you do you. And it's two different chargers, right? Apple, Android. And it's so true. You do you. I have friends that run. I don't run. I'm not a runner. If you see me running, usually people are like, there's something chasing Kirsten because I don't run. So you have to figure out what works for you and realize that, when it comes to self-care, you hear all these different ideas of what it is, and not to feel guilty if you don't necessarily do what those other people are doing. Like I said, go outside, but maybe going outside isn't your thing right now. Maybe it's sitting on the couch reading a book or sitting on the couch watching a Netflix show. You need to just do you. And ultimately with our students too, it's about modeling, right? So listening to your body. If you're starting to notice that you're feeling tired, if you can, try to take a break. If we're not in good places, it definitely reflects on our students, right? They feel our energy, or people around us, we all feel energy. So we have to take some time for us. And ultimately, any positive change begins with you, right? So just to note too, through the Center of Excellence for Mental Health, we have different infographics that we've put out. If you click on here, it brings you to the website. And so here's one about staff well-being. And then there's also the Action for Happiness calendar. If you don't know what that is, amazing resource and tool through Action for Happiness, and they put out monthly calendars where different daily strategies for promoting kindness, happiness, mindfulness, wonderful tool that you can share and use. I left it there. You guys can click on it, and how to spread cheer and happiness around the world. So I'm not here to tell you to change what you're doing. That wasn't my goal, but it just hopefully gave you some tricks that you can start using with your students, with yourself, to help teach mindfulness. And it also ultimately comes down to connections. We all want to feel connected in this world, right? So with our students, it's important that we be real. We be genuine and have fun with them. Smile a lot, call each student in the school by name, get to know one another, not just your students. Use humor, laugh, be compassionate, and notice those little things such as a new haircut, a new shirt. Nothing makes a student feel prouder and great about themselves than someone noticing them. Treat each child with respect, even if they do not respect you yet. Everyone is fighting a battle we don't always see, so be kind. Our students need to know that we are fighting for and with them, not against them. Never give up on them and give them time. Time to learn, time to discover, and to trust your intentions. And as this quote says, the present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you're attentive, you will see it. So take that time. Hopefully you'll find some mindful moments. I want you, and do this right now if you want with me, give yourself a big hug, because it might be the only hug you get today. Give it a big squeeze, and ultimately remember, be gentle with yourself. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm there on Twitter. There's my email. I went through a lot of stuff fairly quickly, but because I wanted to share so much with you today, and I just want to thank you for being here. I think there's some time for questions. I'll stop sharing, and if there's any questions, we can get to that. And we will be putting the presentation, I believe, in the chat box if it's not already there. I can't see it yet. And I know it'll be around for you as well, so you can access all these links. So I will stop sharing my screen so you can see my big face now. There we go.
So Kirsten, we have just under 4 minutes left.
Yes.
I would like to share with you, I've been attending these sessions since the beginning of our conference mandate. And this is the first time I've seen more than 80 positive comments coming through various channels. Normally it's through Twitter, but we're getting it through Twitter and our chat box. People seem to be very much appreciating.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, that's so nice. I'm so glad that people were able to take some things out of this, and oh, that makes me happy. Thank you.
So our biggest question is about the presentation. It's not yet loaded, but
Okay.
we will make certain that all participants are going to be able to get access to your presentation. People also want to get in contact with you.
Okay.
So they've got your email address. She's also on Twitter, so you can hit her up on Twitter as well. I'm going to just go through a couple rapid questions.
Yes.
One is, what do you say to parents who claim mindfulness is religion?
Oh, that's a tricky one. Oh boy. I've actually never heard that one before. I guess it's all in how you describe it, right? It's not, you're again, and that comes back to that slide where I was saying you're not changing who you are as a person. You're not trying to promote anything. It's just being aware of feelings and emotions that are going on inside your body. I think parents may be thinking that because they don't have a good grasp on what mindfulness really is. They're thinking, I think, more of that just meditation side, or that like a yogi side, that person sitting in the back, just kind of meditating, and it's not that. So I think we need to kind of clarify. I hope I'm answering this question, but it's more of being aware of what's going on, and helping our students to self-regulate with their emotions. I hope that answered the question.
And another question was, do you know of any studies about the effect of mindfulness on academic performance?
Oh, there's so many. Off the top of my head, no, but I can definitely get those to you. I have them written down. There's so much research that has been done in this area showing the positive benefits. do I have it written down? I do not, but I can definitely,
Okay, but we could tweet it out, or people can kind
sure,
of.
you know what? I can tweet it out, actually. That's a good idea.
Perfect. Someone else wanted to know if you had the exact moves for the floss dance.
I do. Of course I do. It's really easy. I
People
don't
want to see you floss.
I was doing it. I don't know if you saw it.
I did. I don't think they did, because there we go.
There we go. I'm too. I had kids teach me a few years back, and it's like stuck in my head now forever.
And one last question was, what does a mindful classroom look like versus one where mindfulness has not been implanted?
You know what? And again, that comes down to your teaching style, to who you are. I mean, and how your students are. It can be different for everybody, because it's not necessarily a space. I mean, it can be like, when I think of it, for me, I would have options. So it's really about different lighting options, different seating options, different sounds, different smells, and then it's just incorporating different practices. Could be a corner in your classroom as well too, where if maybe it's not a whole classroom activity, where a student can go into the corner and look at maybe some of these little, if it's younger students, look at some of these books and do some of these activities on their own. If you're doing it is in a whole class, it can change from year to year based on students, right? So it's really having that discussion with your students and seeing, again, taking an inventory of what they need or what they like in that moment, and then kind of going from there, if that makes sense.
And Kirsten, we're at our time limit, but I just want to thank you for presenting to us best practices for bringing mindfulness into our lives and schools, and showing us how to create a safe place for our kids to learn, and letting us know that it begins with creating some space for them to breathe. And I think we're all walking away with tremendous appreciation. Folks, you could pop over into the cafe, and if you have additional questions for Kirsten, I'm certain she'd be more than willing to chat with you over the next 15 minutes.
For sure. Thank you so much.